G'day, g'day, wherever you may be. This is Mastering Music, Mastering Life. Tony Jack the Bear Mance here with you once again at Deluxe Mastering here in my beautiful hometown of Melbourne, Australia. And today I am got the absolute privilege to have as my guest Mr. Robert Babicz, all the way from Malta, formerly from Belgium, Germany, and now Malta.
I have to correct you, but
correct. Listen, mate, I get corrected all the time, mate. So just
okay. So I'm born in Poland and grew up in Germany and moved to Malta 5 months ago.
Okay, so so how do you see? So how do you identify? Given you've had such a interesting and
I'm a human on planet Earth.
I like that. I often tell people a citizen of the universe.
Yes,
that's I like it. I like it a lot. Well, welcome to the podcast, mate. It's great to have you on.
Thank you for inviting me.
Not a problem at all. You've been a guy who I've been tracking down for a while now, and
yes,
well, I have been, and I remember when you were in Australia last time. I was trying to get a hold of the promoter, and the promoter who brought you out here. He is a friend of mine and still is to this day. But unfortunately, just time and schedules, and I guess when international DJs are touring, a lot of demand on their time, and so we tried his best, but we never got it to happen. But anyway, it happened the way it was meant to, and here we are. And so yeah, lovely once again to chat with you, my friend. So Robert, for those of you who don't know you, you are a DJ, you are a producer, you are an audio recording, mixing. You are also a mastering engineer in your own right, and you're a composer. You're one of those guys who are the envy of many because you're so fucking good at every fucking thing you do, and so you travel the world a lot, and currently you're in Malta. So I'm really keen to, the thing that I want to know first up is what brought you to Malta? Tell us about the move there and what inspired that move.
Actually, it was not really planned to come to Malta. The thing was that I got my contract in Germany got cancelled by the landlord, because in Germany, if you take the flat for yourself, you can throw out the people who are living there.
What sort of what sort of contract? What do you mean by contract?
Yeah,
a visa or lease? The lease on?
No, rental contract.
Okay, right. Okay. Yep.
And I was basically okay. Let's a little bit bigger story. I got divorced like 5 years ago.
Welcome to the club. Yep.
Moved into my studio, and then I always thought, okay, I will get a flat, but it never happened because I was traveling so much, and there was no time for this. And then suddenly I got this cancellation because my landlord, he was not super happy with hearing music all the time.
Okay.
And then I was trying to find something in Germany, but it was kind of difficult. And then I have some friends here in Malta, and they told me, hey, maybe you just come over for 2-3 days and relax and have a look. And I didn't thought that this will be my next home. But I came, and on the first day I saw some places and flats, but I didn't like it at all, because Malta, if you ever been to Malta, I don't know,
No.
It's a very small island in the Mediterranean Sea, and the north of the island is full of people and buildings, like full. It's like a sea of buildings, and I didn't like it. And on the second day, I was lucky that people showed me this house,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't here in that place. I don't have any neighbors around. I just have fields.
Beautiful.
So that means I can do
What?
noise attacks for 24 hours, no problem.
Beautiful.
And yeah, it was perfect, and I totally fall in love with this place.
What do you love about
Yeah,
Malta?
and then it's first the weather. It's very different to Germany. I mean, Malta have like 300 days minimum blue sky.
Wow.
It's like amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
then the temperature is very mild. So during the summer, it was almost constantly for many months just 30 degrees, and with this wind coming from the sea, so it was totally nice.
Yeah, that sounds idyllic. Sounds wonderful.
It was, and people are very like Malta. Everything is slow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm coming, from Germany, where everything have to be on time, and it took me a little bit to adjust, but now I'm super happy that everything it takes its time.
Everything
It's
gets
good
there.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine it would be an adjustment, but I think I could handle something like that. There's something to be said about being in a relaxed state, and where maybe not to the point where people don't give a fuck and they're apathetic, but certainly just pretty chilled about things, and just things will get done when they get done. Yeah, it's a good.
And the thing is that I'm traveling anyway, so on the weekends I have to go somewhere on this planet. But when I come home, it's like silence and nice.
That's great.
And no, nobody is complaining, nothing. It's just nice.
No, it sounds perfect. Sounds perfect. So tell me, I know what it's like to set up a studio and to move equipment, and do a build, but your studio, you've got mountains and mountains of stuff. How long did it actually take from, the actual move from Berlin to Malta and to feel like you were settled in? How long do you think it realistically took before you really felt comfortable in the new environment?
Oh, it took some time. The thing is, I had to ship the whole studio with a container on a big ship.
Mm-hmm.
And the company told me, yeah, it will take like 2-3 weeks. In the end, it were 6 weeks.
Yeah.
and um, and then to set up everything, I think because I thought, okay, let's do it slow to get into the Malta speed.
Yep.
It took me, I think, another 3 months till like every cable was done, and then another 2 months just listening to music, because I didn't knew the room, and this room is way bigger than my old room, so I have like 9 by 5 square meters. I don't know. In Australia, you have
We're running. We do metric here. Yeah, yeah.
Metric. Okay, so it's kind of a big room. So that means the whole response of the speaker is different to my old room. And I just had to listen to music. I was constantly for 2 months, every day from morning till evening, listening to music, all kinds of music, just to get a feeling how instruments, how everything is going here.
Yeah. So, how much treatment did you have to? Was it just a constant process of treating the room?
It's
And
a yeah, it's a constant process. It's still not really ready. Thing is, I have to earn a little bit more money because like I had my acoustic guy coming from Germany,
hmm
Markus Bertram,
hmm
really great guy, and yeah, he was measuring everything, and he made some stuff that yeah I still have to get something like a special construction for the ceiling,
yep,
um, because
some
I
kind.
have one still
Sorry.
one hole,
hmm And
but
so some kind of diffuser to help with a node of some sort.
yeah, I have a lot. The whole room is full of diffusers
Yeah.
and stuff.
Oh,
It's like
cool.
it's already full.
No, no, it looks like a really comfortable, beautiful space to be in, man, and very homely. And I think over time the studio has evolved as more and more people have project studios. Um, the ones that just look very homely and comfortable and warm and inviting, but that can still give a reasonably good response, or at least where the main guy operating can learn the room well enough to be able to produce work that translates well in the real world. Because let's face it, there's no such thing as the perfect room. And
No.
in fact, some of my clients, when they send their stuff, they have very, very humble setups, to be diplomatic, and yet the
Mm.
results that come out of there are absolutely fucking amazing. So, sometimes I think people, they, in, while room acoustics and treatment is all very important, I think when you, as the main operator, can get your head around the space and learn the room and know how to compensate accordingly, I think that's the main thing. And I think for young guys who are starting, and gals who are starting up their own rooms these days, not to not to get too hung up about not having the most expensive looking or most precisely built room, but to just have a space that is, that's treated and has, have an acoustician check it out. But as you said, spend a lot of time in there listening, getting to know
Yeah.
how. Yeah.
And I think I have a specialty. First, that most of my clients are like from the electronic music world, and they come to me because they know that I'm a live act and that I play like uh, my music in clubs or big festival stages. So I know how a club is sounding and how a club track should sound at home and at the club.
Yeah.
You know, I know how they translate because I'm working on this theme already for 28 years.
Yep. I hear you. Junkie XL said a similar thing. He put a video out there, and he mentioned the same thing about his room. And he said, "Look, I got nothing special here. It's very live." He clapped his hands. It was quite
Mm.
reverberant, and just said the same thing. He said, "Look, just if you know how a record should sound in a club and it'll translate well, that's all that really matters. But that is just a matter of time of you working on your craft and getting used to the environment you're working in."
I'm quite happy that this house in Malta, most of the houses they are built on special sandstone. So it's not like concrete. It's a very own material, and even without all this absorber stuff, it was sounding already like very pleasing.
Mm.
So maybe just as a natural thing. And my acoustic guy told me, "Hey, man, this is already really good."
So tell me what.
So
So listen, you're one of those guys who manages to have a pretty varied career. So you compose, you perform, you DJ, you mix, you master. Are there
and I'm a sound designer as well for
uh,
some companies.
there you go. So for games and that sort of thing, or for film.
Yeah, uh, no, I'm sound designer for. I did a lot of work for Native Instruments.
Okay.
If you if you work on some native instrument sound instruments, it's probably there are some presets from me. And as well, I did some work for Apple as well for Logic.
Lovely.
But
Yeah, of course, our little secret. So of all those, so of all,
yeah, and for other companies and gear and blah 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 blah.
yeah. So
Like,
so
a lot.
do you have anything that you're particularly lean towards, or do you find that you have enough variety and you're happy to be able to go between one and the other, because they all seem to work and help each other out, because they all kind of work nicely together, don't they? They can all spill into each other.
Yeah, I think it's somehow everything is connected to each other in a way. So it's great if you do sound design, then you learn how a sound is really built from nothing.
Yes.
And then if you compose, you know how to use these sounds and make an arrangement. And then if you are a mixing engineer, you know how to mix the stuff.
Yeah.
And then in the mastering stage, you know, like in the totally deepest level, how everything was set up.
Yep.
So it's nice to have this total control. At least for me, I just speak for me. I mean, I like it.
So how far back did your love of music go to? Did you grow up with music? Did you play? Were you a musician? When did your love affair of music begin?
I'm like I said, I'm born in Poland, and my parents been at that time. Poland was a communist state, and we've been kind of refugees going to Germany. So I grew up in a very kind of poor area, refugee, like all very, very, very basic level.
Yeah, we're a lot of immigrants, and where a lot of immigrants were. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then that means as well that my family had absolutely no connection to any art. There were no books, no nothing, and music was not playing any role at my home. But I was from the beginning. I mean, I have a brother, and he's really different.
How so? How's he different?
Yeah, he. I would say I'm just the crazy one, and he's very normal, you know, like.
Crazy is the new normal, my friend.
But yeah, so just to explain it to you, I had a few key elements I think like moments in my life that were responsible that I'm here right now, and one of them is I as a 9-year-old boy, I had a small let me find the right English word, like a tape radio recorder thing.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know? And I was always listening to radio. And then I was even taking this radio into my bed and listening to music when I had to sleep.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I hear you.
And then one day I was able, I got a radio show in this radio that was playing electronic music, but at that time I had no clue, like about nothing. And for me, I think it was a track by Karl-Heinz Stockhausen. So, you know, this experimental electronic music, very, very abstract. And I thought, this is not a radio show. I thought this is a transmission from space in their alien. And I just tuned into the channel of an alien transmission,
Yeah.
and I got really, really afraid and was hiding in my bed because the sounds were so intense.
Yeah.
And I think that's like one of these moments where, like, deep inside me, I understood how music can touch you so deep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and from that on, I wanted to know what is this, and yeah, and but I never thought I would make music myself till almost end of the high school time. Like, I was close to finish high school, and I was kind of a very introverted boy, very introverted. I had no clue how my life should be. I had no idea what kind of work I could do. If I would just imagine myself working in an office, impossible.
Yeah.
And I have like two left hands.
Yes.
How Germans say.
Uh-huh.
So I'm really not good in doing work with my hands. And somehow I was able, and I was able to get from a friend of a friend. I was able to get some instruments for 3 weeks, and he told me, you can take them and give me back where I go on a holiday. And I had no idea, no clue, nothing, just playing around with the stuff. Recording, I was recording a few tracks on a cassette tape. And then, I mean, crazy, I saw an advertising in a magazine, in a music magazine, that a brand new label is searching for young talents.
Uh-huh.
So I sent this cassette with the tracks
Mm-hmm.
to this label, and 2 days later I got a call. Hey, this is so amazing! We have to release this, and please give us the master tape. And I told them, hey, you already have this.
You have
the
it.
master. It's all I got. Yeah, and then somehow this was my first vinyl pressed, and I got this like I had my first record,
Right.
without understanding anything. I just had fun.
Well, that's the aim of the game, though, isn't it? It's got to be fun, right?
Yeah,
It's got to be.
yeah. It was just fun, and just maybe one month later. At that time, I was already like, it was the beginning of techno music in Germany. It was 1990,
Mm-hmm.
really the beginning of this techno music. And like 1 month after my record was released, a promoter called me. He somehow found my phone number. He called me and told me, he asked me if I want to play tonight on his party. His other live act is not able to come, and he needs a replacement. And he likes my record and blah, blah, blah. And I told him without thinking, yes, I come and play.
Of course you did.
But I told him, I have one little, like a small problem. And he said, okay, what kind of problem? I said, I don't have any instruments. He said, okay, don't worry.
That's just listen, Robert, that's just minor, just a minor thing. That's a minor thing.
Yeah. And he said, let's, no problem. We will ask some people around and we will get you something. So, imagine I was still a very, very introverted little boy, somehow, not so little, but a boy.
Yeah.
And I accepted to play this night. So I came there, I think 2 hours before my playtime.
Mm.
And there was a drum machine I never saw in my life. There was a synthesizer I never saw in my life. A mixing desk. I had no clue how it works. and some guitar pedals. And yeah, I had 2 hours time to find out how this works and program all the sequences like something.
Yeah.
And then I just
Winged it.
played for 1 hour straight improvised music, and it was so intense that from that moment on I understood this is because like this is what you want to do in your life.
Yeah.
Without knowing that you can have a living on this. It was this super intense feeling that it was the first time in my life that I was doing something from deep of my heart, just doing this music, and people react to this like immediately, without, I don't want anything from them and they don't want anything from me. We just connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
This connection was very deep. So the next days after, I told my parents that I'm soon my high school will finish, and my parents were, because we were immigrants and I was not bad in the school, just I was most of the time very bored, but I was lucky somehow to get through it.
Yep, join the club.
And they were hoping that I will go to university and study and be like an engineer or whatever, a doctor, something that they can be proud of.
Yes.
And I told them, for me, it was a big step. I told them, no, Daddy, I think I am an artist and I will not go to university and I will not take a regular job. I just want to make music.
And how did they take to that?
Not good at all.
Yes. Why am I not surprised?
It was a big shock for them. Like really, they were so angry on me. In the end, they told me, you have 3 months to find like they throw me out of home.
Yeah, right.
Like they were pressuring me so much, and they thought, okay, he will be afraid anyway, and he will go to university.
Mm.
But I was so crazy inside that I thought, okay, this is like your chance. So I was able that in that 3 months already a few, like some gigs started, and I was able to buy my first cheap equipment. And somehow I had like my first money, a little bit, and I was able to get a room. So I moved out, and like the first 2 or 3 years, I just had a used mattress on the floor and some equipment.
Yeah.
And I was happy. You know, I was just doing this.
As listening to you right now, it's because this is the first time you and I have actually had a proper conversation, and I'm astounded as to how many parallels are being drawn here. But I just want to just get back to one thing that you said before, which I think is really important. And because my podcast my passion, as you know, Robert, is really trying to mentor young kids and to inspire kids by having people who are established in their field and successful in their field share their stories. And you telling a story about how your parents were against you becoming an artist, which is a very common thing that kids experience even to this day. And so And so I just wanted to remind if anyone who's listening who is thinking about wanting to do what they want to do, particularly in the artistic and creative realm, that there's a lot of pressure from parents, a lot of pressure from society, and it's so important that you owe it to yourself to be true to your heart, true to yourself, follow what it is you want to do. It is going to be difficult, but even if you go down the straight 9 to 5, that's difficult as well. So
Mm.
if we accept that there's going to be difficulty, we may as well at least be experiencing difficult moments in the things that make us happy.
Yeah, it's to be honest. Yeah, I'm doing this for 28 years now. It's still a fight. I mean, this fight will never end. You know, I can be established as much as I want. Times are changing. Everything is changing always. You can be
Absolutely.
a hero for 1 week, and next week nobody knows you anymore. So you have to work on it and work and work.
This is true too, and this is a mistake that a lot of young kids make. Where they would look at me and go, "Well, it's easy for you because you've been doing it for how many years now?" And it's like, well, getting your foot in the door and establishing yourself is one thing. Staying there and maintaining a career is an entirely different
It's
kettle of fish.
a
And you're
yeah.
absolutely right. And especially now there's so much, I hate to use the word competition. I really like to believe that I'm working in cooperation with people, but there are many, many people out there. There's a lot of great choice, and the internet now has provided people with just incredible variety of really talented people that are giving really good value for money. So now it is more than ever for guys like you and myself to work harder at at our craft, at our skill set, at our business, and really not sitting on our laurels and thinking that just because we have this experience or release these records or these whatever, that guarantees you're going to get continuing work through the door. It doesn't work that way.
Oh. And for me, the whole mastering business, I never planned to be a mastering engineer at all.
Either did
It's
I.
just that
It found. Go on.
yeah, I just I was going into this theme because I was not happy with the mastering guys I met before, and I had this vision in my head how I want the music, and I was like I was on the mastering sessions every time, and we're looking how they do it, but somehow I was never really. I thought they don't understand me at that time. A mastering engineer, at least the guys that I met, they never entered a techno club in their life.
Yeah.
They had no idea how a bass drum should kick you in your face.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't understood this, and then they made kind of radio mixes out of the music, and I was like, no, it's not. I want it a little bit different. So
Yeah.
I started to learn my own route, and I had started to buy some equipment that I heard, okay, maybe this can help you and this. And then of course the people around me, they saw how the sound was evolving, and they were asking, hey, maybe you just try something on my track and something, and then slowly, like more and more people came, and then at one point I thought, okay, if you do this so much, maybe you just take a little bit of money, because it's so much, it's a lot of time you're spending on music from other people.
Yeah.
And then it was growing and growing, and then I always want to get better. I want to learn every day. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about having. I think a great mastering engineer is someone that can understand the vision of the artist, but when you can actually immerse yourself a little more in the culture of the music that is being worked on. So, for example, in the 90s, I was doing a lot of club and electronic music, but I was spending a lot of time in clubs back then. Most of my friends were DJs and producers, so I had I guess, a more intimate understanding of what was required and how the records needed to sound and how they needed to translate in the club. but just the language, you know. And the same thing now. I find I listen to music I don't necessarily like, but I need to get an understanding of it and talk to people from that scene, again, to be relatively conversant, because I think clients need to feel that you have some understanding, that you are on somehow on their wavelength. And I think that comes across in the way you work with what you're doing. So, you know, so I can see how you became the road that took you there. You know, for me, I didn't even know what mastering was. I wanted to be a record producer, but when I saw how quick my journey was, when I saw how quick the process was, because back then it was 1981, it was a transfer of tape to a lacquer, and having sat in lots of tracking and mixing studios, and I found it very boring sitting around all day listening to things over and over. But the first thing about mastering that appealed to me was the fact that the process was quick, and because you got to listen to a variety of different records, which meant that if you didn't particularly like that one album or single that you were working on, it wouldn't matter because you probably liked the next one. So there was a turnover of work that was happening. Plus the fact that back in those days, mastering had, it virtually had no profile, no prestige. It was still predominantly a major label, internal house thing. There weren't a lot of independent studios like there are now. And so I thought, they're looking, the industry in itself was growing. It was looking for people. You had a quicker entry in, and you did, the other way was go in, be a runner, maybe do that for a year or two, then maybe be an assist engineer another year or two. Then, it was a much longer process before you were going to become an engineer. If in fact you were going to be an in-house engineer, then you had to be on freelance. So for me, it was more of a pragmatic decision. And that's why I say mastering found me. And I just feel so blessed that I've been doing this gig for all this time, man. And as I'm sure you do, it's a wonderful way to make a living. And I encourage anyone to go out there and give it a crack. I really do.
No, I enjoy it most of the time. The thing is, I don't take I don't take work that I'm not understanding. So if there's some, let's say, some music that I don't understand, then I'm telling the client that, sorry, I don't know how to make this better. Because it's I have no idea.
Yeah.
So
is that, do you find that but most of your stuff is mainly electronic? Would you do a country record? Would you do a jazz record or
I was slowly I got more confident with the time, and my music, at home I'm listening to a very broad range style, like from range, very broad, and then I started with some folk music and some jazz, and then some rock. Slowly I have to get a vision. I need with this electronic music, I hear it, and after maybe 2-3 seconds already, I know where I want everything. And with a rock song, it took me a little bit. I had to listen to, basically, I was doing the history lessons. I was starting from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, listening to how everything evolved and where the styles are. And then slowly I understood, okay, and I started to use, to take this as well.
I think that's important. And I think that's all part of being conversant with the style of music and the clients you're working with, because even though you may not be an expert in the field, at least if they're talking to you about, for example, I want to, I kind of like this kind of vibe. It's good to be able to say to a client, I get it. Even if you get it on a basic understanding, but generally understand when they're talking with you, because I'm a great believer that the way I've always defined this role of mastering is being a facilitator, to help an artist or a band realize their vision for their art. So when I hear something, if they can sit and give me a brief, that's great and that's very helpful. But I believe that a good engineer should be able to hear something and just go, okay, I hear where we're going. I understand where you want to go, and then to know what it needs or to be added or taken away in order to reach its fullest potential, for that vision. And I think that's something that you can kind of learn over time, but I think there's also an intuitiveness that that comes in that as well.
But I also think that having an understanding of history is very important. Is that to know how music styles evolved and how in music styles instruments were used. The way how the guitar had a very big evolution, and very interesting how they used different kind of effects, how different kind of playings. And then if you understand where the band is coming from and where, I think every art is not independent by their own. It's always the whole history behind the artist that already happened, because the artist was growing up on this.
Absolutely.
So he's like the conclusion of the history of his past.
Yeah.
It's always when people ask me, what kind of style are you doing? What kind of music are you doing? I'm saying, I do Babicz style, because it's the whole 28 years of music I was doing, like all the styles together in one. It's always this history, and I made over 1,000 tracks. So
let me ask you something. Just let me go on a bit of a tangent, because I'm curious to know. Lots of DJs who travel a lot internationally, play lots of gigs, lots of flights. You, to me, strike me as a guy who seems pretty healthy physically. You seem like you're pretty well together in your mind. And you do a lot of travel, and international DJing is very, very grueling. And it takes a
hard job.
And for a lot of guys, a lot of stories about mental health and substance abuse. And so how do you manage yourself with travel, with a schedule, and with a lifestyle? Because it's we're not really nocturnal creatures, and yet the demands of the job require us to be outside of daylight for long periods of time. Different time zone changes when you're traveling. Different diet in different countries. So how do you manage yourself? Because you, of all the guys I know, and I use the word know loosely, but even just talking to you, you just strike me as someone who has just a better grip on life, even though you say you're crazy. How do you manage yourself, Robert? And what sort of things you do or don't do in order to maintain yourself?
I think I had my the weird intense years with experimenting and substances and everything. I had this in the beginning,
right?
And I think I was lucky enough that I stopped with using stuff right at the moment when I had to travel, because I remember, because I'm slowly, when with experimenting with this substances, and I lost a little bit, like, when I'm just curious, so of course I wanted to know everything and try this and try this.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I had some good times and some also very hard times. And I remember, I think it's maybe 1996, around this time. I remember how I was going to a supermarket, and wanted to buy like food, and I had a panic attack, like
Mhm.
very strong, and was super panicking,
Yeah.
and had this yeah, I've been very, very afraid. And I understood, okay, this is from you doing too much, like
Yeah.
too much things going
Yeah.
on. And
Mhm.
and then I was asking myself, like very deeply, what do you really want in your life? And the clear answer was, I want to make this music. This is my main focus. So I stopped from one day to the next with everything.
That's
Uh,
awesome. That's very hard. That's hard. That's really hard for a lot of people because certainly was for me. In my case, it was a gradual. Sounds to me like when your experimentation with drugs was, as you said, a curiosity and just to see what it was like, but it wasn't some kind of coping mechanism like it was for me. And most people I find, drugs, alcohol, whatever, is they're hiding from their fears. They're trying to escape their pain. It's just a way they know how to cope, and they just haven't been able to get it
mm,
on top of it, or childhood trauma. So sounds to me like you were one of the lucky ones that was able to dive into that world, do what you wanted to do. You found your limit. You had your moment. You had your little epiphany, and then that realization of, okay, what's more important to me? And music was your thing, and and you loved it more than anything else. And so, I
yes.
mean, it's a great story, Robert. And I wish I was able to do the same thing, and I hope that others are able to stop just as quickly, because that would, that's the dream right there.
Yeah, but it was super hard. Of course, after I stopped, uh, I was falling into completely darkness. I was like for 1 year super depressed. I could not smile at all. It
Mm.
was a really, really brutal time because I was used to, all this funny colors and everything. It's
Mm.
super. It was an amazing time, but somehow the reality was the drug now, because this was so intense
Yeah,
to be not on drugs,
yeah, yeah,
that yeah, it was a challenge really. And then after 1 year I slowly got used to it. I was happy that I didn't lost, because I was very experimenting, and my artist name was Rob Acid at that time.
yeah.
So yeah.
That was very subtle. Oh, mate. Well, it's good to see that you're healthy and you're well. And how do you deal with jet lag and things like that? Because
Well,
I imagine that must be the worst part of it.
to be honest, it gets harder and harder each new year. I'm 45 now. I will be 46 in January.
Hmm.
It's hard. Before, maybe I was needing like 1 day, two. Now sometimes, especially if I'm going to Australia, man, I'm totally fucked up for most of the time I'm in Australia.
Yeah, yeah. No, Australia's a hard place to go and come from.
It's like like on most of the tours, on the last day I spent in Australia, I was like, the first day I was really sleeping,
Mhm.
and then I had to go home again.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
Oh,
yeah. Do you plan?
super hard.
Do you plan to come back down
Of
this way?
course. Yeah, of course, always.
Well, well.
I you know, uh, I would even love to. I really like Australia. The only problem is that it's so far away from everything on this planet
Yes, that's true.
that it's too far away. Like
Yeah, it's
if
not.
I would go there, I had to fly all the time
Yeah,
so far.
not. It's just not practical.
No.
No,
No.
and that's why a lot of the guys here who do and did really well internationally, for the most part, had to relocate. You know, I mean, guys
Mm.
like Anthony Papa, for example, had to relocate. I mean, he's back traveling and doing a few tours here and there, but it's nothing like he was doing back in the day
Mm.
when he was based in London. And London, of course, is. I mean, you don't. It's not a. You're not looking at 22, 24-hour flights every time you got to go somewhere. To far away. But love to see you back here when you come here, mate. Next time, we'll get a heads up, and I won't have to go through the promoter to catch up with you, and get to
Yeah,
hang out.
I have to visit you, of
Yeah.
course.
Oh no, it'd be great, mate. Well, we can come and we can hang in the studio and play records and go out and go eat good food.
Mm.
And now I got to ask you just for one little tech question from my friend Danny
Mhm.
Benici. He asked me to ask you to tell us about the way he described it to me was some kind of like a plug-in or a router that enables you to switch between your analog bits, and it's like on the
Yeah.
screen like a template. There's some kind of a template of
Yeah.
everything. So
No, it's I can show you.
all right,
It's very easy.
yeah,
It's the Tegla audio connector. It's this blue thing.
yep,
And then on the screen, you see there's a plug-in.
yes,
You see it?
yep,
Like all the gear that is connected to the back of this unit. It's yeah. I have it's I can throw in every gear. I can solo it. I can change the order of everything
hmm
on the plugin, and the unit will do it like inside. So I have like the whole studio. Yeah,
So
I
it's
can control it from that.
okay. So it's a router and a monitor or control, or is it a strict?
Yeah, it's like it's a matrix that is
Okay,
controlled by a plugin. So it's great because when you make a session, you save it.
yeah, yep,
So
I hear.
exactly everything I was doing, at least the order of
Mhm.
all the gear is saved with the session. It's great.
Well, expensive?
No,
How much?
um,
Roughly, how
it,
much was it?
I think 2,600 euro,
Somewhere around there.
something like
Okay, so about
it's
4,000.
for mastering Matrix. It's cheap.
Yeah, yeah, about 4,000 Australian dollars. Yep. Okay. I just had to ask that for Danny because he busted my balls when I told him I was speaking with you. He goes, "What you talking to Robert? Ask him about this thing," and he asked me 3 times. So
Yeah, I'm totally in love with this. It also have a built-in MS matrix, so you can put like every gear that is here.
in
I
MS
can put
mode.
in MS mode. It's nice to experiment, and I have my. Let me show you my studio as
Yeah,
well
beautiful.
in this matrix.
Yeah,
So I can try how it's sounding in the beginning of the chain, how it's sounding in the end or in the middle. It's yeah, it makes
and
just
you also use mic pre's a bit too as part of your processing. Is that more in a mixing context, or do you also use mic pre's as a
I
mastering
also
effect?
both
Okay.
um
Tell
both
us tell us a little bit about that and how you
okay.
came to that, because that's it's not traditionally mic pre's aren't traditionally used in, and again it's great that people think outside the box. So how did you come to that? Was that just an accident that happened one day, or
um
was it a thought out process? Was
yeah,
it a method to the
yeah,
madness?
it was kind of accident with, I think I had one mic pre-routed, and the whole the master was going through it, and somehow I liked the sound,
Hmm.
and then I didn't understood why I liked it, so I had to find out what's going on,
Yeah.
and then I started to experiment with this, and then I understood, okay, there are this transformer thing, and there are many different transformers,
Yeah.
and there are some different ways to build a preamp. Yeah, then I got more and more into it, and as well in the mixing process, it's very interesting. It's the way how I make a mix down is that I really have a lot of different preamps. It's full, like the whole rack is full of
Yeah.
preamps.
Yeah.
I'm sending out groups to different preamps, and then I get a contrast because the drums go through API, and the chords are from like Neve, and then you have some Focusrite, and you have some Electrodyne, and
Yeah, so it's just a
with it,
different. It's like a different palette, just a different palette,
yeah.
and you use each one and combine them. Yeah,
And this way of this small little colors, they help me in the mixing stage a lot, because the mixes are already, I don't, it's something that it's super nice, is that I need less compression, I need less EQ. At least all this the stuff that you regular doing, I can leave it. If I find the right preamp for the right sound,
mm-hmm.
it's almost ready.
Yeah, gotcha.
That is something something really great that I just recently found out for myself.
That's great.
And this way, I'm, yeah, it makes fun. And then, of course, you can use them in mastering. They are not meant to be.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think there's for a long time that people, there are a lot of purists out there that for example, for a long period of time when I started my own thing, a lot of people were saying, well, you can't be a real mastering engineer because you use Pro Tools as your DAW. And so that immediately didn't make me legitimate. Or if not every piece of gear had, detented switches and it was all, yeah, exactly. Then no, you that's not mastering. And so I've never been one for the purists. I've never been one for people that just sit there and stroke their chins and go, I respect people's opinion, and I'm interested in what people have to say, but I'm not a very technical person. I never have been. My approach has always been, close your eyes and twiddle the knobs, and it doesn't really matter what number it's at or what setting it's at or what gear you're using. If it sounds great in that moment, you stop and that's it, and not get too carried away with anything else. It's all very interesting, but I think sometimes being too purist in your approach shuts you off from possibilities and other things that can actually be really beneficial.
I think there are two types of mastering engineers. That they are the ones that have this white coats,
Mm-hmm.
and they are completely purists, and they don't change your music at all. It's just a little bit louder,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it.
Yep.
And then you have some weird guys where the people come to, let's say, the people who find me, they want that I change the sound of their music.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they pay me.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
want that it sounds different when
Yep.
it comes back.
Yep. And that's fair enough. And I think that's where you probably have a discussion with your client. And I find like for me, it's different. Sometimes you get people that I don't work with purists necessarily, other than they are obviously, they care about their art. The music is their babies, and I'm invested in their art. Sometimes people have a specific brief, and they do ask you to be sensitive, I guess, to the approach. Other people are just like, look, man, we've heard this so many fucking times. We are now at a point where we just don't know anymore. We completely trust you. Just go for it. And then you get others where it's somewhere in between. But either way, I think so long as we have a good communication with the client, and they feel that they are invested in what we're doing, and they know that we're on the same team, then they'll get the result that they're looking for.
I think my business card is somehow my own music.
Mm-hmm.
It's many people come to me and just say, hey, I totally love your records. Can you help me to sound close to them?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I try to, first, I don't have any secrets. So that means before I start a mastering or accept the mastering, I will listen to the track, and then I explain the client, okay, I'm hearing this and this and this. If you change this and this and this, it will be way easier for me to master.
Yeah. 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 It's same.
Or I just repair, and then you will be not 100% happy, and for me it will be pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So I'm teaching my clients to be a better mixing engineer or whatever, or artist.
Yeah.
Just because maybe I just wanted a more easy job.
Well, I think that's exactly right. And for many years now, a similar thing. I do as I think it's just due diligence, Rob. It's a case of, for one, the better shape the mix can be in the first place, or in the most optimum, because a lot of people say, "Oh, tell us if it's good," and I said, "I'm not the taste of police. I'm not here to be the
it's not about taste.
I can only tell you what I can work on to a point where I feel I can honestly give you some value. If I know I can't, and I believe that that's a pretty clear line, then we have a discussion about what things, in a generic sense, mix wise, because then it also makes the job easier for me. And it's not because I want an easy job or because I'm fundamentally lazy. It's because I know, just the common sense and experience has told me, that if I have a good sounding mix, and if I'm here to frame a picture and not necessarily repaint it, they'll get a better result. But also that relationship you have with your client, because most people now working in room, and as we discussed earlier on, people are working in rooms that aren't necessarily the most acoustically brilliant. So the more feedback we can give them, the more things that they can take on board. So when they mix their next record, they know next time, I'll be aware of this and I'll be aware of that, which means then, we get something that's a little bit easier to work with, and slowly over time, we make better and better records, right?
Right. Yeah. And I'm growing with experience, and the client is growing. So it's a win-win situation.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy about this win-win situations, because basically when I have to explain my job to somebody who don't know this artistic world at all, I can explain it that people pay me to be happy, because when I'm happy, the people around me are happy.
Yeah, I like it.
That's like the basic idea of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's everything, mate. It's to be happy and find that thing, to be. I mean, it still saddens me to think that 5% of the world probably, do a job that they really love doing, or at least, they are indulging in their passion. And there's nothing like it. There's absolutely nothing like it. And I'm very committed to hopefully inspire some young kids to do that. I really am, because it's a beautiful feeling.
I still feel I have the best job on this planet. Really, I'm a happy person.
Yeah.
I'm like I said, I'm still fighting like hell.
Yeah.
And you get problems all the time with this and this and this, but I don't care anymore. It's over the years. The problems didn't get less, but the way I'm caring about them, got less.
How I think it's right. It's how we look at them and how we interpret the situation, and then what choices we make then, and to be able to make choices more consciously and with a bit more awareness through the experience of before, and less care factor, as in not having your self-worth attributed to the outcome, and that's something that a lot of, when you're young, that's something that I know I certainly was guilty of, and a lot of young kids are. But I think that
for me, when a problem occurs now, I just see, okay, we have a problem. How can we solve this? In what options do we have? What can we do? Can we connect this to this? Or I see it in a different way. Before, I was panicking. I thought, oh, my life will stop. I have to jump from the bridge. Everything is and now it's like, okay, I understand. Okay, I have this problem. I cannot fix it now, but let's make a step towards fixing it.
Yeah, asking better questions and coming from a more solution focused. That's what I'm hearing you say.
And this is helping a lot. Taking the stress out of the system, and then maybe for me now Malta is even a better step. Just relax.
That's great.
We will get everything done. Everything
as it's meant to, and it'll get done well. Slow and steady wins the race, so to speak. Robert, it's our time is up. My next guy is about to come in and do his session, but sincerely, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure and a joy to speak with you.
Thank you for inviting.
No, mate, it's been a great discussion. We'll stay in touch, and love to have you. I'll love to have you on again. Next year for another episode. But thank you
we can do it again.
Yeah, but thank you for your insights. It's been an awesome conversation, and continued success to you, my friend, in Malta, and as you travel and compose and sound design and whatnot. And take good care of yourself, my friend. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
All
Same
right.
for you.
Thanks, my friend. Thanks. And there you go.
Bye.
See you later, Rob. Mr. Robert. Yay! Mr. Robert Babicz.
Yeah.
So, so there you go, guys. There he was. Robert Babicz. What a superstar he is, huh? What a great conversation we had. We're ready to get out of here. Before I do, I just want to send out a quick shout out to all the boys at the Cave Hub in Abbotsford, in Bond Street, Abbotsford. So for those of you guys who are looking for a place to rehearse pre-production, it's licensed there. It's a wonderful place if you want to, do any gigs over there. It's a wonderful venue. The Cave Hub, go speak to the Farnham boys who run the show down there. They're great guys. They care about music. They care about our industry. They're doing wonderful things. So go down and say that I sent them down your way. All right, I'm out of here. As always, say, please be nice to each other, but more importantly, be nice to yourselves. I love you fuckers, and we'll speak to you on the next time. See you later, guys.